Louie B. With me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Monday Night Football overtime. Bears, Rams. Not what I expected. This was quite a surprise. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Rams thoroughly dominated this football game, and it actually went in the opposite direction of what I was expecting. 24-10 victory for the Rams. Both teams leave this game at 5-2 on the season. I was expecting the Bears to dominate the Rams offense, do just enough offensively. They would be the team with 2 or 3 turnovers forced on the night. They would be the team that would go out, find ways to get it done. And the questions wouldn't be whether the Rams were serious, but whether the Bears were serious. Everything kind of flipped. I've officially put, and I've had this feeling for a long time. You guys know I'm not the biggest Matt Nagy fan. He's officially now on a list that you don't want to be on. And it's the Louie T's B.O.B. list. It's the Louie T. Bill O'Brien list. You never want to end up on this list. And essentially what that is it's a coach that's surviving off of a specific aspect of his team that's keeping him alive as a coach, despite his ineptness as a coach and his inability to fix the thing that he's supposed to be able to fix on his team. Bill O'Brien was hired to make sure the Texans' offense was dynamic. If not for Deshaun Watson, he would have been fired 3 years ago. He stunk. Offensively, he was not good. His teams weren't very good. Defensively, they got worse over the years. There's arguments as to why, Mike Vrabel leaving and going to Tennessee, I thought their defense was really never the same. Doesn't matter. He was supposed to be there to make sure that their offense was dynamic. It wasn't. And if not for Deshaun Watson, they wouldn't have made the playoffs 3 times in 4 years, and they wouldn't have been a big-time offensive team. And they weren't good in the red zone, and I didn't think he used to call good plays. I think Deshaun Watson made him right a lot of times when he was wrong. Fast forward to now, that's the list you don't want to be. I'm naming this list after Bill O'Brien because for years he survived off of the back of number 4. It ran out this year. All the magic, all the bad trades, all of the shit that he was doing in Houston, it all ran out. It all came to a head. He got fired this year. Matt Nagy is now on that list for me. Now, look, they're 5-2, and the way they play defense, they're going to win most Sundays because you're not going to play good football teams every Sunday. They got 2 games versus Minnesota. They should be able to strangle Minnesota's offense. If they don't stop the run a little bit better than they did tonight, and Dalvin Cook is back, that could be a different story. But they got the Vikings twice. I'm pretty sure there's some more winnable games on that schedule. They'll end up finding a way to 9 or 10 victories, and that should be enough to get them in. NFC, you saw the list, starting to shape up pretty damn nicely. When you talk about 7 teams, 7 spots, bunch of 4 and 5 win teams in this conference. You saw 2 tonight. Both of them have 5 wins. Now, if you ask me, one of these teams looked like a pretender tonight. However, looking can be deceiving sometimes. This defense, I've said this all along, it's good enough to carry them if the offense does just enough. The offense didn't do nearly enough tonight. So what I'm saying is Matt Nagy was brought here to Chicago to make this offense go. No matter whom was out there, they talk about, tonight they made all the excuses in the world for Matt Nagy. Oh, he doesn't have any talent. Bullshit. There's talent out there. Don't talk to me about not having talent. I've seen a lot of teams working with a lot less, doing a lot more than this putrid-ass offense. Now, maybe there's some questions along the offensive line. I'll grant you that, but I'm not trying to hear it because, again, I know teams with offensive line issues and a lack of talent, and they're still producing better than this Bears offense. Don't talk to me about Nicholas Foles. He's a Super Bowl MVP winner. He can get it done. He can get it done. I've seen him do it before. I'm not saying Nicholas Foles is some all-pro quarterback. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're as good as you say you are as an offensive mind, then you should be able to make this shit work. And look, with your defense being as good as it is, you don't have to do a ton on offense. You don't have to. You lost by giving up 24 points tonight. 24 points tonight. 24 is not a number that ensures you defeat in this league. Not anymore. You know, that number's up around 30 now. You want to lose a game, give up 30 points, you're more likely going to lose. The number in this league, if you want to win, you want to try to guarantee yourself a win, right around 20. You hold an opponent under 20, you probably are going to win the game. You hold an opponent under 17, you should win the game, and more likely than not, 9 times out of 10, you will win the game. 24 is that magic number where you could be in a nice little tussle back and forth, and you know the team that plays the best complementary football that night could win a 24 to 23 game, a 23 to 20 game, 27 to 24, 27 to 23. That doesn't guarantee you defeat. You had ample opportunities to score points tonight. I thought your red zone offense was a joke tonight. The interception thrown by Nicholas Foles, ridiculous. You get back down there again, and you get nothing. That 4th down play, what was that? The 3rd down play, what was that? The 2nd down play, what was that? I'm not a big Matt Nagy fan, but he's living off of that first year in Chicago. Now, I'm not advocating firing him right now. That's not what I'm doing. The man's 5-2. But he's on the list. He's on the watch list. The B.O.B. watch list. Don't want to be on that watch list. He's on it. Along with Adam Gase. Adam Gase is right now the highest on that list. Once Adam Gase gets dealt with, then I'll turn my attention to Matt Nagy. Especially if they don't make the postseason this year. We'll see what happens. His defense is going to be the thing that saves his life in Chicago as a head coach. Because offensively, they stink. And Allen Robinson is talented. Anthony Miller is talented. Darnell Mooney is talented. Cole Kmet is talented. Jimmy Graham still has something left in the tank. Don't talk to me about lack of talent, okay? You can do some really cute things with Cordero Patterson. Don't talk to me about lack of talent. We'll talk more about the Bears later on. Let's get to the team that actually won this goddamn game and surprised the hell out of me tonight. The Los Angeles Rams, because Aaron Donald never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. Said it best when he told the Monday Night Crew, we were soft last week. We were soft. That's the way I view the Los Angeles Rams. You're soft. Soft. With a capital T. That's why he got beat up last week against the 49ers. That's yesterday on this very program, on the overtime show last night. I sat here and I called the Rams soft. And I said, what happens when a team slaps you in the mouth and says you're not scoring 20 tonight? What are you going to do? How are you going to react? I thought the Bears are going to slap him in the mouth, just like the 49ers slapped him in the mouth last week and said, you're not scoring 20, what you going to do? I thought they were going to bitch up. That's usually what the Rams do. That's their MO. They want to finesse you. They want to bootleg you to the right. They want to jet sweep you to the left. They want to stretch you, boot you back to the left. Stretch you right, boot you back to the left. Stretch you left, boot you to the right. They do all the finesse stuff. And it's cute when it works and it's in synchronicity. It's so damn hard to stop. Well, what happens with somebody like the Giants? And this is why I wasn't high on the Rams coming into this game. The Giants, I watched the Giants bitch slap them in week number 4. Literally went up to those boys and said, hey man, we ain't for the chicanery today. The left, the stretch left to boot back right. F all of that. We shutting all that shit down. Your run game, not having it. You're not scoring 20 today. What you gonna do? They were in a 10-9 dogfight late in the 4th quarter with the damn lowly ass Giants. 49ers did the same thing to them. Nope, not happening tonight. We know you. This is family. You can do all that shit you want to the NFC East. We family. We see right through you. We know what you about. That's not going on today. They folded. Like a lawn chair on a nice summer afternoon, they folded up. Time to go home, man. You had a nice day at the beach. Fold that lawn chair up. Let's go home. Tonight, I was expecting much of the same. Thought the Bears were going to slap in the mouth early. Jared Goff was going to turn it over, was going to panic. The run game was going to be reduced to next to nothing. Sean McVay and his offense was going to look pedestrian like they usually do when they play good defensive football teams. I was wrong. And for that, I wasn't overly impressed with what the Rams did offensively tonight, even though I thought they handled themselves well against a really good Bears defense. I thought they really had the Bears off balance tonight. They ran it way more effectively than I thought they were going to be able to. And you know what? I got to stop acting like this Bears rush defense is elite, because it's not. I've seen teams have success. Watch Adrian Peterson run on them in week 1. Have success. I watched Todd Gurley have success against them. I've watched teams run the football successfully against this Bears defense. So I have to stop acting as if this Bears rush defense is elite, because it's not. Where they're elite is when they get you in 3rd and long. Now you're in trouble. Anyway, the Rams ran it a little bit more effectively than I thought they were going to. But when they're able to run it, that's when they become hard to deal with. Because now you got to honor the boots, the fakes. They all look the same. They all look like run. And then when Goff pulls it out and he boots to his left or he boots to his right, somebody more likely than not is open. And if they're not, know what Jared Goff's going to do? He's just athletic enough to run for 7 yards. That hurts on 1st and 10. Now it's 2nd and 3. They can do whatever the hell they want on 2nd and 3. It's hard to stop the offense when they have you off balance. And I thought they had the Bears off balance for much of the night. That being said, I was more impressed with the Rams defensively tonight. And I get it. The Bears offense isn't anything to really, jump and hoot and holler about. I understand that. But they were the ones that were the aggressors tonight. They were the ones that took the fight to Chicago. I kept talking about how Chicago's going to slap around this Rams offense and make them look soft. It was the Rams that made the Bears look soft tonight. They were the ones that didn't look like they could function under pressure. They were the ones that looked like they couldn't find a way out of their own shadow of their end zone. They were the ones that were pent up against their own end zone and couldn't produce 2 or 3 first downs to flip the field position all night long. Johnny Hekker was fantastic, and the defense of the Rams made it stick because they weren't allowing the Bears out of their own 6-yard line, 5-yard line, 1-yard line. They kept them pinned down there and forced them to punt the ball and give the Rams back great field position where they just punted the ball from. So the Rams were the aggressor tonight. They showed me a little something tonight. I'm not wholly convinced, but this is a step in the right direction because a year ago, 2 years ago, they lose to this Bears football team. Hands down, no questions asked. That wasn't the case tonight. They showed me a little something. This was different. This wasn't finesse. This was, if we got to get our hands dirty. See, the Rams of old, they didn't want to get their hands dirty. Ew, what's this? Ew. Give me some hand sanitizer. They wanted soap. They didn't want to touch nothing that looked nasty. They didn't want to get their hands dirty. Tonight, they got their hands dirty. They looked like they didn't want anything to do with getting their hands dirty last week against the 49ers. They looked like they didn't want anything to do with getting their hands dirty a couple of weeks ago versus the Giants. For the first 3 quarters against Buffalo, wanted nothing to do with getting their hands dirty. But in that 4th quarter versus the Bills, they got their hands dirty. In this game tonight, they got their hands dirty. They're showing me a little something. So this 5-2 is looking a lot more legitimate after tonight's game. As for the Bears, they are what they are. This didn't really change anything for me other than the fact that Matt Nagy, to me, is fraudulent as an offensive-minded coach. I told you I hate his decision-making. I think he's not a great in-game decision-maker, in-game adjuster. I think he's one of those guys that's just kind of out there doing it off the seat of his pants. I'm not a Matt Nagy guy. I told you some of the decisions he made last year I thought cost this team an opportunity to compete. Even though they had a ton of injuries last year, they still played top-notch defense and had a chance to compete. And I thought Matt Nagy messed them up in a few ball games last year. That's nor here nor there. They're 5-2. The defense is still good. Not as elite as it was before. I think the run defense leaves a lot to be desired. But they're good enough to stymie most NFL offenses. And they're able to generate turnovers, short fields for their offense. And, like, for instance, Tashawn Gibson. Bro, what are you doing? Jared Goff throws the football right to you. You make a great play, and you're batting the ball down? You got 2 hands, bro, not 1. What are we doing? That's some high school shit. You know? That's what high schoolers do. Oh, I'm happy to get a PBU. No, go catch that shit. Pick it off. That's what they were missing tonight. The ability to make a play. They didn't make plays tonight. Opportunities were there. They didn't make them. Khalil Mack forces a fumble. Look, you may not have been able to get on that. Find a way. Find a way. Create something. They created one turnover tonight. That one went for 7. They needed to create a short field at some point. And Goff gave them an opportunity and they failed to take advantage. Rams, I tell you what. If you can play this kind of defense consistently, I'm not sure about that. But if you can play this kind of defense consistently, coupled with what you can do offensively, which is enough, more than enough. This is a team, I don't think you're good enough to win the NFC West. I don't. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I know you give Seattle fits. You usually give Russell Wilson nightmares. I'm aware of this. I just don't think you're good enough to deal with the rest of your division. I think Arizona might be better than you right now. Seattle is better than you right now. And you just lost to San Francisco. I got questions about you inside this division. Outside the division, however, I think you're fine. I think you're going to be able to take care of business. And that's why I think ultimately when it's all said and done, you're going to end up with 10 wins and you're going to end up in the postseason more likely than not. I had you as a postseason team before the season started. I had 3 teams getting in the postseason out of this division. So this isn't a surprise to me. I had the Cardinals just missing the postseason before the season started. I think they may be taking San Francisco's spot in the playoffs because not of anything that San Francisco's doing. I think San Francisco is fine. They just got too many injuries to overcome. At some point, it catches up with you. You know, how many times can you turn over the running game to another back and say, all right, next guy up, you get me 100 yards? Like, Jeff Wilson is hurt now. Deebo Samuel, to me, is the X factor of the offense. He's hurt again. Going to miss at least 2 weeks with a hamstring. Like, they can't keep dealing with these injuries and overcoming them. I just think there's too much talent in this division for you to be getting by with guys getting injured. And we saw the schedule for the 49ers. It's brutal. And with injuries that continue to crop up, I just don't know if you can overcome them. So I think that opens the door for a team like the Rams. You know, opens the door for a team like the Cardinals to make a power move in the NFC West this year. And so we'll see. I thought this was a really good game, a statement game of sorts by this Rams defense, because I thought that the Bears defensively were going to really take it to the Rams offense. Rams got them off balance early, but the real difference in this game was the special teams of the Rams and the defense of the Rams. Because think about what happened tonight. First of all, Cordero Patterson is a field flipper by himself. The man brings it out from wherever, 8 yards deep, 9 yards deep, 4 yards deep. The opening kickoff of the game, he caught it at the goal line. I'm thinking, you must not know who that man is. I said, oh, well, you're trying to give it to him at the 37 or the 40 or midfield. And they ran his ass out of bounds at like the 17. Like, his returns were trash tonight. And that's not him. But you got to give credit where credit is due. He had nowhere to go. His only option was to run outside and towards the sidelines. That's all Rams special teams. So you're starting inside your own 20. The Rams defensively would come out and they would shut shit down. They weren't allowed. The best drive, honestly speaking. And I know they had other drives that traveled longer and faster and things of that nature. The best drive of the game for me, outside of the one that resulted in the interception, was the first drive of the game for the Bears. They looked in sync, and generally with really good offensive-minded guys, the first 15 that are scripted usually looks great. And Matt Nagy's one of those guys. Those first 15 look excellent. After that, goes to shit. And so I thought they looked good on that opening possession. I was like, oh, okay. Couple of first downs. They moved the football a little bit. They stalled out right around midfield, had to punt. And they were able to pin the Rams deep in their own territory. And I said, okay, let's see what this defense does. You got the Rams backed up. And they let the Rams move it all the way down the field and get a field goal. And I was like, geez. Or it might have even been a touchdown. Either way, or as a matter of fact, I think that first possession actually stalled out. But they moved it too. And I was like, shit, you let them out of their own end zone. Like, that was a sign of things to come. You know, but That's nor here nor there. I made that point to say that the special teams was outstanding because it was the combination of kickoffs and punts, pinning the Rams deep kickoff coverage, and punt coverage, pinning the Bears deep in their own territory, and then the defense stepping on the field and making that stick and getting the offense back into great field position. How many times did the Rams start, with the football either within 10 yards of midfield or in Rams or in Bears territory, in plus territory? How many times did they start right in that, let's call it the 40 to 40 range? Their 40 to the Bears 40. How many times did their drive start tonight inside that 40 to 40 area? I can remember at least 4 of them. I mean, multiple drives because the special teams pinned them deep. Johnny Hekker was outstanding, and the defense made it stick. And I thought that was one of the differences in tonight's game. And if they could play that kind of complementary football, the Rams are going to be a tough team to deal with. Because one thing I can say about the Rams usually is they don't beat themselves. You know, every now and again, Jared Goff will have a 2-interception game. But for the most part, he just takes care of the football. He doesn't do anything stupid. He doesn't try to go outside of the offense and make a bunch of plays. If it's not there, he'll eat it. He'll take a sack. He'll throw it away. They don't really beat themselves. That fumble at the end of the game by Robert Woods, that's uncharacteristic of the Rams. They generally don't beat themselves. You have to beat them. And if you don't turn it over in this league, a lot of times, you give yourself a really good chance to win games if you execute and you play complementary football. That's what the Rams did tonight. Let's get to the comment section real quick. Knock out some of these comments. Niners fan says, I was feeling good about our playoff chances yesterday, but after this game, I'm not sure 10 wins gets us in. With the Cards and Rams having better records, you think we have a shot? I think I talked about this already. I don't like your chances, not because of anything you've done. I think you're actually well coached. Arguably, you're one of the better coached teams in the division, to be honest with you. I love what Kyle Shanahan does. I think Robert Saleh is doing a tremendous job with, the cards that he's been dealt this year with all the injuries. And yet, I just don't know if you're going to be able to continue to overcome these injuries. Your schedule is murderer's row. And at some point, it's going to catch up to you. I just don't think that Deebo Samuel is such a huge part of your offense. And when you take a guy like that out of your offense, and now you're going to have to rely more on the rookie Brandon Ayuk for a lot of the jet sweeps and some of the things that Deebo handles and takes off of the plate of the running back. Not to mention, speaking of running backs, you just put Raheem Mostert on IR. Now Jeff Wilson, more likely than not, is going to have a trip to IR as well. He hurt himself with a significant injury yesterday. And, you still got Jerick McKinnon, but to me, there's a reason they go away from McKinnon. I like McKinnon. I don't think they like to feature McKinnon. They may not have a choice. You're running out of guys. So I just think these injuries are really mounting. They're piling up. And there's only so many of these you can take on the chin. I think at one point I heard you had like 19 guys on IR. You just added another one today, essentially. Well, you may add another one in Jeff Wilson. We'll see what happens with him. But at some point, it just becomes too much to bear. We'll see what happens. I don't like your shot right now, but I think if anybody could come off the pace, and you're not that far off. I mean, we talked about all these 4-win teams. You're right there. You have 4 wins too. But your schedule is about to heat up. That Patriots game was the last one that you had against a team under 500 for like the next 3 or 4 weeks. It's about to get real for you. And I just don't know if I like your chances with all the injuries that you have. We'll see. I know you got Seattle coming up here shortly. Might even be this upcoming week. We'll see how it goes. Cody _ says, sup, Lou, how's your day been? Busy, man. That's part of the reason why the pod didn't get out. We'll do the podcast tomorrow, though. We'll do pod episode 106 tomorrow. We'll recap week number 7. Now we got all 14 games in the books. So we'll recap that. We'll do I guess we'll do Tuesday night leftovers. Why the hell not? We got them. Might as well go to the fridge or, in my case, the microwave. So busy day, but I'm never complaining. Hopefully you had a great day. Reese says, Jared Goff looks like Ryan Gosling. He does a little bit. I can see that. Definitely could see that resemblance. John Perez says, my God, that was such a snooze fest. If that game was in Chicago, the Rams wouldn't have made it to 14 points. Maybe you're right. And there may be something to Chicago at home. This game was a snooze fest. I agree. It wasn't very entertaining. But, of course, I watched very intently at that. But the entertainment value here was very, very low, especially coming off of last night. It's hard to really, it's hard to come off of what we saw last night and follow that performance up. But I got a couple super chats. Didn't notice this first one, and I apologize. Carlton Pagano Jackson, thank you for the super chat. PJ, thank you so much, who writes, Lou, shaking my head. It started off slow with the Bears offense, and it kept getting worse. Hashtag Mob Squad. Absolutely it did. I thought that at some point, I actually thought the first drive wasn't bad. And in the comments, in the group, I said, man, both teams got off to, solid starts offensively, even though neither of them netted them points. I was like, wow, both of these teams got right around midfield, and both of them started their possessions off deep in their own territories. And I was like, oh, that's pretty damn impressive. And I thought Chicago got progressively worse as the night drew on. They had opportunities, and they didn't do much of anything with them. So you're right, it kept getting worse. Got another super chat here from 61 Livy. Thank you for the super chat, 61 Livy, who writes, finally the Bears got exposed. Nick Foles is a great backup, but I'm sick of hearing how great he is. Go Bills. I don't think the Bears got exposed. I think most people know what the Bears are. They're a really strong defensive team with offensive deficiencies. And if the defense isn't on their A game, they can lose any given week to anybody. Doesn't have to be a good team either. When you're as anemic offensively as the Bears can be from time to time, and if the defense, and this is the most important part, if the defense is able to strangle the other team's offense or create short fields or score points themselves, it helps this Bears team out tremendously. I watched them against Carolina last week. They didn't do much offensively last week. But what the defense did do was they created some turnovers, some short fields, and they took advantage of that. And they did just enough offensively to go along with a dominant performance defensively, only allowing the Panthers to score 16 points, and they won. So when you're able to do that, you're going to win some games in this league. When you're able to hold opponents under 17, which the Bears have done multiple times this season, you're going to win some games. They did it to Tampa Bay. They did it to the Panthers last week. You hold a team under, 16 points. A lot of times you're going to win the game. And they were able to do that last week. They weren't able to do it tonight. And, again, 24 isn't a death sentence. That's not a lot of points in this league anymore. Used to be. It's not anymore. So 24 is very, very doable for this Bears offense. But they made too many mistakes. They missed too many opportunities. Jalen Ramsey got smoked on a double move. I typed that in the Mob Squad. MOBB stand up. We in the building as always. I typed that in the chat. I was like, Jalen Ramsey just got cooked. And I really like Darnell Mooney, by the way. And I think I've said that already, but I'm going to say it again. Really like Darnell Mooney. He was wide ass open. It's a 99-yard touchdown. 97. I think they might have been at like the 3 or the 4 at that point. It's a 96-yard touchdown. Let's call it 96. And Foles had zero time to get him to rock and threw it up for grabs and overthrew him by about 2 or 3 yards. He walks in the end zone. They had another deep ball. Over the top. Open. Foles can't get it to him because he's under duress. Another deep ball late where Anthony, and this is inexcusable by this Rams defense, they allow Anthony Miller to split them, the corner and the safety. He's open down the field, but he can't step into the throw. Leaves it short and allows the defenders to converge and knock it away. They had opportunities. They got all the way down there. Cole Kmet with 2 big catches. They get right down the field in like 5 plays. Foles throws a stupid interception back of the end zone. Ill-advised dumb throw. It was a first down at that. It's, again, I don't know what to tell you. They get down there again. They got to go for it. First of all, they're down first and goal from about the, let's call it the 9. They run the ball. They get inside the 5-yard line. And I think they took Jimmy Graham off the field. Let's call it second and goal from about the 7, maybe 6 or 7. They take Jimmy Graham off the field, which has been their best red zone target all season long. I think he's got 4 touchdowns this year, all of them, inside the red zone. Takes him off the field. It tries to throw one of those comebacks at the pylon. Didn't work. Great coverage, by the way, by Darius Williams there. But then they try to run it, which lets you know they were going for it on 4th down. And then they go for it on 4th down, and Foles gets sacked. What are you doing? Seriously, what are we doing right now? I didn't like that series of plays. And I don't really know what the hell the Bears are doing offensively, but I don't think they got exposed. I think we know who they are. They didn't have their fastball tonight defensively, and I think that hurt them more than anything else. Thank you for the super chat. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Door Gunner writes, where them boys at? Hashtag Dallas sucks. You're not going to hear from them, man. You're not going to hear from them. It's a lost season for them. It feels like it. They're 2-5. They're still right in the thick of this division. As bad as everything seems, and that's the crazy part. If I were a Dallas fan right now, I would be saying, as bad as everything seems right now and it looks, we can go to Philadelphia next week and win, and we'd be in first place. Think about that. Let that sink in. Let that resonate. You had 2 awful weeks of football. 2 of the worst weeks. I think the 28-point loss that they had against Arizona was the biggest home loss they've had in ages. They haven't got their asses whooped like that in quite some time. They follow that up with a 22-point loss versus us. So they've been embarrassed back-to-back weeks. And all of that could be put to rest with 1 win at Philadelphia on Sunday. Isn't that amazing? Be 3-5 and right back at the top of the division. Isn't that something? So for as bad as it is in Dallas right now, could be worse. They could be actually in a good division and having this happen. But they're not. And so, because this division stinks, they're 1 win away from being back at the top of the division, as bad as they've been the last 2 weeks. Thank you for the super chat. Door Gunner. Got a little bit over 20 minutes. Let's try to knock down some comments. Reese says, thoughts on the way Brady is playing? I'm sure you've watched the game. He's balling. Apparently this is what washed up looks like. Yeah, he's playing outstanding. And I was one of the people that didn't think he was going to be like, I'd give you my best throw of the day from Brady yesterday. It was just a ridiculous throw. Right before halftime, he hits, oh, shit. What's the, he hits Edelman for a touchdown back of the corner of the end zone. And I'm thinking to myself, shit. That ball was right on the damn money. And I was one of those people that say, hey, watch these moon balls he's going to be throwing down the field. I don't know what kind of shit they're on in that TB12 facility, but whatever they've got, they've bottled up that fountain of youth shit that they've got going on. They've bottled it up, perfected it. Man, that throw with about, 12 seconds left in the first half. Are you kidding me? Back corner of the end zone? That was great coverage. Can't defend a perfect pass. Brady's playing out of his gourd right now. If he's going to play like that the whole season, Tampa Bay, with the way they can play defense, you got to put them at the top of the list in terms of NFC, Super Bowl contenders. Seriously. He's playing ridiculously well right now. Cody _ says, I am scared of that the 49ers team after that win by them yesterday. He says, I'm scared of that 49ers team after that win by them yesterday. Don't be. It was impressive. I'll be more afraid of San Francisco if they win the next 2 games. That's when I'm going to be like, whoa. Like, I told you, don't ever discount the heart of a champion. This team got to the Super Bowl last year. That wasn't a fluke. But all of these injuries, they're not the same team that got to the Super Bowl last year. So I want to see how they do the next couple of weeks. You know, that Patriots team they played last week stinks. Or this past Sunday stinks. It's trash. Garbage. I thought they could go there and win. I didn't expect them to embarrass them, but I thought they could win comfortably. I watched that team struggle against Denver's defense the week prior. Like, there's nothing about New England that impresses me. And I told you guys that early in the season. And again, the only reason I walked back my comments initially was because of week 2's performance at Seattle on a Sunday night. That was before we realized Seattle can't stop anybody defensively. So that's not impressive. Seattle's defense is trifling. And once we figured that out, we're like, hey, wait a minute. Your offense really still does stink. And then we watched them throw up all over themselves against Kansas City. We watched them do it again against Denver. And we watched them do it again against San Francisco. How many times you got to see it before you realize that their offense is horrendous? That their defense isn't what it used to be. And that this Patriots team isn't very good. Well, I don't want to diminish what San Francisco did because that's what you do to teams that are inferior to you. You destroy them. If they're not good and they're not putting up a fight, you beat the brakes off of them. And that's what they did. I want to see them do it again. As a matter of fact, I keep talking about this schedule for the 49ers. Let's look this schedule up because I know they got some tough games. We talked about it before. I just don't remember. I just know it was like a tough 5-game stretch that they had. Seahawks, at Seattle, home for Green Bay, at New Orleans, at the Rams, home for the Bills. Yikes. Your season could be done right there. Let's see where your bye week is. You got the bye week after that Saints game. So you got the 49ers on Sunday. You come quick turnaround, Thursday night football against the Packers. That should be a dandy. Then you go back on the road to New Orleans. And so you have a 10-day layoff between that game and an opportunity to really prepare for the Saints. We'll see what Saints team you get. Will they have E-Man Sam? Will they have Michael Thomas? You know, the trade rumors are swirling right now with Michael Thomas. We'll see what happens and if they've sorted all of that stuff out. But, you know, and then you get the Rams again, and this time in Los Angeles. I mean, if they find a way to win 2 out of those 4 games, Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Rams, then, you know, listen to what they got after that. Let's go with 3 out of 5 because I want to throw the Bills in that mix. But listen to how they got Washington after that Bills game at home. They got the Cowboys the week after that on the road. Then you get the Cardinals and you finish up with Seattle at home. So it doesn't get really that much easier. There's a little let up, and we don't know what Washington team or what Dallas team you're going to run into. You'd much rather play those teams right now. That's the thing is everybody else in your division is getting those except for Seattle. You know, the Rams got fat off the NFC East. You would have liked to have gotten your NFC East games out of the way early. You took the Giants down, got a freebie there. You got the Jets, got a freebie there. You'd have liked to have gotten some more of that NFC East stuff out of the way because it would have allowed you to stack up some more wins. By the time you get to those NFC East games, they may not even really matter win-loss wise. So you got to take care of business if you're San Francisco. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Anyhow, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of San Francisco, but I tell you this much. They are still dangerous. Very much so. But don't be afraid. They're not last year's version. And that's what you should be concerned about because that's the team that dismantled you twice last season. They're not that same team. But they're still good enough to do it if you come in there pussyfooting around, tiptoeing, thinking maybe we can sneak them. Nope, you got to slap San Francisco right in the face. You got to punch them right in the mouth. If you don't, and if they smell weakness, then they're gonna eat you alive. Got a couple super chats. I'm gonna go ahead and knock these out. Got one here from 61 Livy. Thank you for doubling up. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, 61 Livy, who writes, after last night's game, this was a letdown in my opinion, but it's football, so eyes were glued. I'm sure you talked about it, but what's your feeling on the Bostic hit and what's your trade deadline look like? Bostic hit was dirty. I didn't think it was a good hit. Didn't need to happen. We were getting off the field. Dalton was giving himself up. It was third down. It would have been fourth down. You got everything you wanted out of the series. They were deep in their own territory. We were going to get great field position. It was unnecessary. You didn't need to do it. He got fined. I didn't think he would get suspended. It's football. Shit happens. As long as Andy Dalton didn't get carted off on a stretcher, which he was able to walk off with a little bit of assistance, but he was able to get up and walk off the field. Everybody's fine. We move on. The trade deadline should be pretty interesting because there are so many teams in both conferences. I talked about the haves and the have-nots. You know, we saw the Minnesota Vikings essentially say, all right, yard sale, come and get whatever you want. Like, you got teams treating this like baseball. Okay, we stink. Let's start mortgaging off pieces that we don't need. You know, you might be able to get Kyle Rudolph. You may be able to get, you know, Yannick, or they already traded Yannick Ngakoue. You know, you might be able to trade for their safety if they're not going to re-sign him, Harris, like Anthony Harris. Like, you know, you're seeing teams saying, all right, we stink. Cowboys are already conceding that they're trash. They're like, hey, Everson Griffin, who wants him? Like, I think you're going to see more of that this year than in any years in the past, where teams are like, we don't have a chance. Let's try to get some more draft capital. You know, let's just get rid of the stuff that we don't plan on retaining. Other teams think they got a shot. Bless them. Let's see what we can get for some of this stuff. You know, I'm hearing that Ryan Kerrigan, you know, Peter King is saying Ryan Kerrigan has some strong value out there. I'm looking around and you know, a lot of Washington fans don't want to trade Kerrigan, and you know, there's some sentimental value there for me, but at the end of the day, I'm like, yo, I can get a second-round pick for Ryan Kerrigan. I can get a third-round pick for Ryan Kerrigan. I'm not taking a fourth. I'm not taking a fifth for Ryan Kerrigan. He's worth more to me than a fourth-round pick. But if somebody's like, yeah, I'll give you a fourth, I'll give you a third for Ryan Kerrigan, I'm going to say, all right, hold on. You'll give me a third? I'm going to pick up the phone and call another pass rush needy team like Seattle and say, hey, this team said they'll give me a third for Ryan Kerrigan. You trying to give me a second? You know, if I'm Seattle, I'm calling Dallas right now and saying, hey, I got a 5 with your name on it right here for Everson Griffin. What you trying to do? I think Dallas they're just looking to move him at this point. They could use any pass rushing help they can get. So Seattle's got to do something there. They got to do something. They cannot stand pat. That will be their Achilles heel. That will be the undoing of that team. If they don't win big this year, it will be because they can't get pressure on the other team's quarterback. You saw it again last night. They got to do something, and I expect them to do something at this trade deadline. So it's going to be fascinating because there are a lot of teams that feel like they may be one player here or one player there from being pushed over the top. What about the entire NFC East? You got Dallas, you know, trying to sell. What is Washington going to do? Are they going to sell? Are they buyers? What are they doing? You know, Philadelphia, do they do anything? I mean, that division is ridiculous. It's wide open. It's crazy. But, you know, you look at some of the lesser teams in the league. Do they start selling off parts or not? We'll see. I think the trade deadline is going to be interesting this year. I really do. Got another super chat here from King of the North. Thank you for the super chat, King of the North. Greatly appreciate you. King of the North writes, Rams are my sleeper to get to the NFC Championship. When the D is on, it's on. They fly around, Lou. Combine that with McVay, they can catch fire. I agree. I told you I thought this team had the ability. First of all, I had this as a playoff team before the season started. So, you know, I felt like McVay was going to bounce back. And I say bounce back, and I use that term loosely. It's not like this Rams team was super trash last year. Like they had this killer Super Bowl hangover or whatever. They were like 9-7, and they barely missed the playoffs by a game last year. So they weren't terrible last year, but you never really felt it last year. They had a bunch of injuries. They didn't seem like they were the same team. This year, however, he revamped the entire staff, got rid of, you know, Wade Phillips, got rid of his special teams coordinator. He's now in Dallas, and John Fossil, and replaced everybody. And he's it's crazy because he relinquished play calling duties to Kevin O'Connell, a guy that he trusts, but yet he by relinquishing control, I think he has more control over the entire team. He was so fixated on what the offense was doing the first 3 years in Los Angeles that I don't think he was really even paying attention to what the defense or the special teams or any of those guys were doing. You know, he's just kind of letting them do their own thing, and he was just really solely focused on offense. You could catch him at times during games, in-game adjustments on his little sheet, circling plays and shit. The same thing you see Matt Nagy doing, not paying attention. Adam Gase, all these offensive-minded guys, they don't be paying attention to the game half the goddamn time. They're so busy worrying about their little play sheet and which ones that they already use, and they circle this. Maybe I'll go back to this in the fourth quarter, and write down little notes and shit. The game's happening right in front of them, and they have no clue what's happening. Well, he said, you know what, Kevin, I'm going to let you run, call the game. I'm going to focus on what the hell's going on. He seems to be more in control of the entire operation. It's a good thing. You know, more coaches, especially the offensive-minded guys that want to call plays and have control over the offense, sometimes it's great to take a step back. Delegate some of this stuff to your guys that you've hired and just have more ownership of your team, the total team. Feel like McVay's doing more of that this year, and it looks like a different team. And wins like tonight make me feel like this team's a little bit better positioned than they were last year to make some noise because they're not just an offensive juggernaut anymore. You know, they score enough, they can play enough defense now, and they do fly around, and they are an unheralded defense. I don't think a lot of people understand. Some of these young boys that they got out there are playing some ball. You know, and they're only going to get better as they get more experience. You saw Terrell Lewis tonight. It's a third-round pick out of Alabama that I really liked. You know, he had dealt with some injuries in college, but he's a dynamic, explosive rusher off the edge and a physical player. You saw what he did tonight on the fourth down. Like, guys like that are going to get better with more snaps. So, you know, I've been really impressed with Darius Williams all season long. They got some stuff, man. They really do. You know, they get the Ohio State kid, the safety, Jordan Fuller. He was playing lights out. I know he didn't play tonight, but he's been playing lights out this season. The Rams have quietly, they haven't had a first-round pick in 10 years, but they're finding stuff in the later rounds and undrafted guys. The Joseph something day guy, whatever the hell is that. This guy's good. They're finding these guys everywhere. They've got some really talented guys on their team. Got a super chat here from the Q-Bone. Thank you for the super chat, Q-Bone. It's been a long time, man. Honestly, it's been far too long. And I told you, your boys were going to be better than you thought this year. You told me that they were going to stink and they were going to finish in last place. That could still happen. You're one game out of last place. So I understand that you could still finish in last place. Your team doesn't stink, though. You were wrong about that. He says, Rams are still finishing last, not moving from my stance, so he's holding steadfast. I can respect that. You made a look, I'm not one of those people that demands that you die on a hill. Just because you made a statement doesn't mean you have to stay there and die on that hill. However, I do appreciate the fact that you're standing on your own too. You're standing on what you believe in. If you don't stand for anything, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I can respect that. They won against Foles, Gold, and the NFC least. Hashtag not impressive. Hashtag Louie T live. While I understand where you're coming from, you got to win against the teams you're supposed to beat, and you've done that. You almost beat the Bills. That wasn't a game you were supposed to win. You fell down big time, and you rallied to win that. You rallied back and almost won that game. Things are going to heat up. Let's look at your schedule. Speaking of which, let's look at your schedule and find out what you have coming up so we can talk more about what the Rams look like moving forward, because you're not impressed. I get it. I understand why you could feel that way. But let's see what you got. So you got the Dolphins up next. That's a game you should win. All right? The Dolphins coming off a bye week. They've been playing good football. That's Tua. First start. Should be fun. You need to win that game. Then you get the Seahawks. So you got a bye after that. Then you got the Seahawks at home. Then you get the Buccaneers on the road. Then you get the 49ers on the road or at home. Then you get the Cardinals. So your shit is about to ramp up here, okay? Your shit's about to ramp up. And we're going to find out who you are. If your team is as bad as you think they are, and you think that they're fool's gold, We're going to find out over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Because you finish up with the Patriots, Jets. It's a little bit of a letdown there. And then you get back to NFC West family business, finishing up at Seattle and home for the Rams, or home for the Cardinals. So we're going to find out over these next 4 games. Dolphins, Seahawks, Bucks, 49ers, what you're made of. 5, throw the Cardinals in there too. Over the next 5 weeks. If they're not legit, you'll go 1-4 in that stretch. 1-4, 2-3 in that stretch. If you're not legit. If you are legit, 3-2 or better in that 5-game stretch. And you're wrong. Because if you get to 8, if you go 3-2 in that stretch, that'll get you to 8-4. You're beating the Patriots and the Jets. That'll get you to 10 right there. You don't have to do another thing. If you get to 10, more likely than not, with 7 teams getting in, more likely than not, you're getting in the postseason this year. So, which is what I had you being this year. It was 10-6. So, I disagree, and I disagreed with you at the beginning of the year. I still disagree with you, but we'll see who's right. But I appreciate you continuing to feel the way that you feel. If you haven't been impressed, don't change your mind because you're 5-2. If you haven't been impressed by your team to this point, stick to what you believe in. Just when it's all said and done, just come back and find me. That's all I ask. And I know you will. I know you will. Appreciate you, Cubone. Got another super chat here from Josh Kirby. Thank you for the super chat, Josh Kirby. Greatly appreciate you. My man Josh writes, Lou, appreciate everything you do for us listeners. Keep doing what you're doing. Hashtag Mob Squad. I really do appreciate you, Josh, man. Thank you for the love. And it's my pleasure, man. I really do enjoy the company of you guys. Chopping it up with y'all, talking about the game that we all love. I love it, man. As do you, which is why you're here. And so this wouldn't be what it is without you guys. So thank you, Josh, and all of you guys out there that support the Louie T Network. Couldn't thank you enough. Really do appreciate you, Josh. Thanks once again. Got another super chat here from King of the North. Double up, King of the North. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you as always. King of the North writes, thinking today that Kyle Allen reminds me of Kirk. He's clutch on those 6 to 12 yard throws on 3rd down. Kirk was too when he was here. Your thoughts? He's a lot more mobile than Kirk ever was in Washington. I thought Kirk started to run a lot more when he got to Minnesota. He didn't really want to run in Washington per se, but in terms of his ability to throw the football short to intermediate, I think Kirk was a little bit more decisive. I think that Kyle is looking to push the football down the field a little bit more. I think you got to see a little glimpse of that on Sunday. I don't know if, Kirk was really necessarily looking to do that when he was here as much after he didn't have Deshaun and Pierre and all those guys anymore. I think he started to really rely heavily on Chris Thompson a little bit more. But when you give Kirk talent, yes, you see it in Minnesota. He'll push it down the field. I can see a little bit of that. I think Kyle Allen is a little bit more of a gamer. I think Kirk was always a process guy. Go through my reads like a kind of mechanical. Go through my reads, 1, 2, 3, check it down. Kyle is like, all right, some shit's here. I got to figure it out. But if I can't figure it out, I'm going to get outside the pocket. I'm going to try to make something happen with my legs and extend the play and do it that way. So I think they're a little different in that regard. But we'll see. It's a small sample size from Kyle Allen. Kirk Cousins did a lot of big things in Washington. I don't want to compare the two until we get a much larger sample size of Kyle Allen. I can tell you this much. Kirk Cousins never threw a pick or had a back-breaking fumble and then came right back down the field and supplied a touchdown drive to overcome the mistake that he just made. I've never seen him do that in a Washington uniform now. So there's a little something to Kyle Allen, as I've mentioned before. But again, need to see more. I need a larger sample size, but I like this guy. I think his teammates really like him too as well. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up, King of the North. Got another super chat here from Mustango. You like that? You like that? Yeah, Lou. How you feel about them Rams, the real NFC West champs? Screw all the other teams. Laughing my ass off. I was impressed tonight. I already said that at the top of the show. This was an impressive win. I know my man Cubone, who is a staunch Rams fan and supporter, doesn't feel like this was an impressive win. He thinks that Nicholas Foles and his Bears offense is trash, and he's right. But their defense is very respectable, and they were 5-1 coming into this game. You got to respect what they've done to this point, and I thought it was impressive, not because of what the Rams offense did against this Bears defense, but rather how the Bears, the Rams defense and special teams played complementary football along with their offense. Against a Bears defense that you know is going to be stingy, you got to bring all your other facets of the game to the table. All hands on deck. It means the special teams got to step up, the defense has to complement, and then the offense doesn't have to shoulder the burden of having to go 85, 90 yards for touchdown scores or 75 yards. They consistently had shorter fields tonight, did the Rams offensively. And I thought that the punting of Johnny Hekker, exceptional. The coverage to complement that punting was dynamic. And then I thought the defense did a tremendous job of, when the Bears were backed up, of forcing them to punt essentially from the shadow of their own end zone, their old goalposts. So I thought it was a really good job by the Rams tonight. Got another super chat. This one is from Fat American. Thank you for the super chat, Fat American, who writes, how do you feel the team feels about Ron Rivera as a coach? You think they're buying into what he preaches? I do. You keep hearing guys talk about the strength and the perseverance he's showing throughout his cancer situation and him coming to work every day and setting that example for them. But you also hear these guys harping on, some of the things Rivera continues to preach, about this team continuing to learn and learn how to win and how to continue to be tough in these situations. I mean, this is what I essentially what I look at. You got a 2-5 Washington team and a 2-5 Dallas Cowboys team. One 2-5 team just won a game against the other. Arrow is pointing upwards, at least for a week. It could easily, after a loss to the Giants and getting swept by the Giants in Week 10, could be pointing right back downward where it was before this win. But you could see this thing trending in the right direction. Why? Both teams are 2-5. Both teams sit in second place in this division, tied for second. What's the big difference? Well, one has true leadership in Rivera, and the message is getting through to the players. And it's a locker room full of hungry guys that believe because the coach has instilled this mentality in them. Meanwhile, Dallas is 2-5. Arrow's pointing down. We got a bunch of injuries. Eagles got a bunch of injuries. The Giants have injuries. So do Dallas. No one cares about your injuries. Yep, they got their quarterback out. We've been down that road before. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your quarterback situation. Figure it out. You signed Andy Dalton. This is the exact reason why, just in case something happened, you had the best backup situation in the entire league. Nobody has an established backup like Andy Dalton sitting behind their starter. You did. He's thrusted into action. He wins you a ball game in his first appearance against the Giants. So you're thinking, this is what we signed Andy for. This is what we brought him in here for. This is why we paid Andy to come here. And the last 2 weeks, Andy has fallen flat on his damn face. Why? Because they lack leadership. They're not buying into the message that their head coach, Mike McCarthy, is spewing. They're finger pointing. Guys are leaking stuff to the media. It's a shit show. So I just look at two teams, same damn record. Both got first-year head coaches, both veteran coaches that have been to Super Bowls. One has actually won a Super Bowl in Mike McCarthy. The other hasn't in Ron Rivera, but he's been to one. And I see teams going in two polar opposite directions. One has his team believing, the other doesn't have a single soul following him right now. I think that tells you all you really need to know. Fat American, double up, thank you for doubling up, Fat American. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, also, how many pieces are we away from being an elite defense in your opinion? I feel like you need a linebacker, a middle linebacker. John Bostic isn't it. I'm actually fine with Kevin Pierre-Louis and Cole Holcomb as your two outside backers. I think you need a true middle linebacker. A difference maker there. I think that's the first thing you need on this defense that we don't have, because you'll get Ioannidis back next year off of injury, and he will make a huge difference up front. I think our defensive line is good. You see Tim Settle playing good football. I like what we have up front. I don't think anything else needs to be done there necessarily. But I look at linebacker and then I look at safety. I think safety is the next place you go if you really want to upgrade this defense. Now, I've been impressed with DeShazer Everett thus far, but, not to say that you can't upgrade that position, but I want to see what he continues to do, what he continues to give us at the free safety position. But I think if you get something really good there, and really to me the biggest thing you need is a linebacker. You could get 2 of those if you like, but just one to replace John Bostic, and I think it takes this defense from good to potentially great. Thank you for doubling up, Fat American. So we've hit our hour mark. I do want to see if I can get through a couple more comments. Let's see. I'm going to talk about the Antonio Brown edition tomorrow on the podcast. I'm going to tell you this. I didn't have a problem. I told you how I felt about the Buccaneers. I thought they were dream teamish before the season because they were signing everybody and guys were taking less to come to play in Tampa. This right here forces me to not like Tampa Bay this year. Now I'm rooting for them to lose, just so you know. This is the full dream team. LeBron in Miami, guys taking pay cuts to come and try to win a championship. It's in full effect in Tampa now. This shit is out of control. I can't allow this to happen on my watch. So I'm rooting against Tampa Bay officially now after signing it. Now, again, he's a head case, and he may only play 3 games for you before he F's up again. But I'm not rooting for success. It's just too much on one team. You're stacking the deck now, and I don't like it. So that's how I feel. But we'll talk more about it because that's just how I feel personally. We still need to talk about what his addition does to that offense. I mean, it takes an offense that is really good now with Scotty Miller and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Gronk and all these guys that are there. And don't forget about the rookie out of Minnesota who's all of a sudden coming on. And I really like that kid, and I told you he was going to be good. And you gotta steal, 5th, 6th round, whatever the hell you got him to steal, because I had a 3rd round grade on him. 2nd round grade I think I might have even had. But I think it was more of a 3rd, but whatever. Doesn't matter. And you add a legit, and I don't know if he's still, AB. He might be Antonio Brown now. But if he's AB, we'll talk more about it tomorrow, though. We'll see. Got a super chat here. Got another one from Fat American. Thank you for tripling up, Fat American. Really appreciate you, man. Fat American writes, last one I promise. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Last one I promise. Holcomb at middle linebacker. He played middle linebacker at North Carolina. So he's not foreign to playing inside, but I like him outside. I like him roaming around. I like him running with, tight ends, and I like him in coverage out in the flats on running backs. I like him outside. I like being able to do different things with him. Now, if they're comfortable moving him inside and they got another guy that they want to put outside, I'm all for it too. Because I think he can play middle linebacker. I really do. But if you could leave him outside and find you one of these elite guys at linebacker inside, it'd make this defense that much better. But if you couldn't find an elite guy and you find like this guy can play, he's not an inside backer, but he can play tremendous football for us outside, I think you could move Cole inside and give him the green dot. And I think he'd be more than capable of taking all that information in, disseminating it to the rest of the team, getting everybody lined up where he's a smart enough guy to do it. So I think he could do it for sure. CGM87, and thank you again for the super chats, Fat American. CGM87 with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, CGM87, who writes, Lou, I was semi-optimistic after yesterday. Then I remember we play at Pitt, at San Francisco versus Seattle, which probably puts us at 8 losses, running the table at 6-10. Look, I'm not going. What you're doing right now is you're trying to play the schedule game, and you're trying to look a month and a half down the road. Can't do it. It's one game at a time. Now, I just sat here and talked to you about different teams and their 5-game snapshot, this, that, and the third. Well, we're still looking at our little 5-game snapshot of Giants, Dallas, bye week, Giants, Detroit, Bengals, Dallas. Get through that first. All right? We lost the first one. We won the second one. All right? Now we get the Giants again. Got to win that. Like, if we don't take care of business in this little snapshot right here that we're in, you can't even look ahead to at San Francisco and at Pittsburgh and home for Seattle. Those games are irrelevant if we don't take care of business here. Right here. Okay? So, I'm not worried about at Pittsburgh or at San Francisco. I can give two shits about that. Because if we lose at home to the Giants, if we can't beat the Cincinnati Bengals, who gives a shit about Pittsburgh or San Francisco or Seattle or Carolina for that matter? Who cares about any of those games? We got to take care of the opponents in front of us first. And up next is the Giants. Got to win that game. After that, it's the Detroit Lions on the road. Got to win that game. That's where we are right now. It's one game at a time. We're not good enough. We're not San Francisco. We're not Green Bay. We're not Tampa Bay. We're not the Chiefs. We're not the Ravens. We're not the Steelers. We're not the Titans. We don't get to look 3-4 games ahead of the schedule. We're not good enough to overlook somebody. We're not good enough to talk about what it looks like three games from now. Giants are next. That is it. We're on a 1-game winning streak. We haven't been on a 2-game winning streak all season long. Let's do that first. Then we can worry about it. And I get what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from. We don't know what Pittsburgh. We don't know what San Francisco. We don't know what Seattle's going to be by the time we get there. The 49ers, I just read you their schedule. They could lose their next 5 games, and by the time we get to them, they could be starting C.J. Beathard. Are you afraid of C.J. Beathard? I'm not. They could be playing, what's his face? Nick Mullins. You afraid of Nick Mullins? I'm not. You don't know what the season holds. So just take it 1 game at a time. And when we start to get there, if we do what we're supposed to do, we'll be playing with a lot more confidence. You're saying if we win all 6 games or whatever, if that means we're winning games that we're supposed to, we'll be playing with a lot more confidence. Who's to say we can't go to Pittsburgh? Ben Roethlisberger and his offense, still something missing there. You know? They got some dynamic pieces, this, that, and the third. Who's to say we don't get there, force a couple? Ben's been doing some real reckless shit. Benny Snell's been putting the ball on the ground. Who's to say we don't force 2 or 3 turnovers, go in there and win? It can happen, but again, that's so far down the line, I can't even begin to wrap my brain around that. We're not good enough to look 6 weeks ahead of the schedule. Giants in week 10. We got a bye week. Enjoy that. Enjoy the Cowboys win. Then next week, we start talking about the Giants. That is it. Nothing else. Then after that, Detroit. That is it. Nothing else. And then after that, Cincinnati. That is it. Nothing else. And then after that, Dallas on Thanksgiving. That is it. Nothing else. And then after that, that's when we start looking at those big boys. That's when you start talking to me about Pittsburgh and at San Francisco and, home for Seattle and Carolina. And that's when we start talking about all these other teams at the back end of the schedule. Let's get through this part of the schedule because we might be 2-9 by the time we get to that back end of the schedule. Who gives a shit at that point? Nobody. So we'll see what happens. That is not true. I know you feel that way. That is so not true. I don't have a grudge against Tampa Bay. I don't. You guys just think I don't like you because I always tell the truth about you, and I'm always right. You think you're better than you are. I tell you you're not. You end up not being as good as you think you are. Then you say, you were right, Lou, but you think I don't like you. No, I just know who you are. I told you, Tom Brady has outperformed and really exceeded my expectations. He really has. I knew the talent was already in Tampa Bay, ready to go. The packaging was all ready to go. You just needed to drop a quarterback in the middle, and you did. I didn't expect this Tom Brady to show up. He did. I didn't expect the defense to be accelerated. They struggled. They were young. I said they're a young defense. If they can fast track the speed and the rate of which they grow, which they have, they can become dangerous. Sean Murphy Bunting and Carlton Davis, all of these young boys are playing ball. Not to mention The Rook in the secondary is playing out of his gourd, which we knew he was capable of, Antoine Winfield Jr., and everything's coming together. You're relatively healthy on that side of the ball. Guys are getting after the quarterback. You're making plays in that secondary. You're a good football team. But it's just too much now. Everybody that's anybody that's out there, they're willing to go to Tampa. League minimum this, or if you could have got your hands on Le'Veon Bell, you would have. You would have. That's where you are right now. You're just snatching up everybody just because. And Tom, he's like LeBron right now. He's capable of getting guys to come to Tampa that wouldn't have given Tampa the time of day before. But I digress. Got another super chat here from Fat American. Thank you for the super chat once again, Fat American. Greatly appreciate you. My man Fat American writes, do you see this team making a playoff run like the 05, 07, and 12 teams? Seemed like those teams clicked out of nowhere. That's exactly what I'm looking at right now. The difference is in 05 and 07, we had to go on 5-game win streaks late in the season to get in. That's not what we're going to be doing here. In 2012, we had to go on a 7-game win streak to get in. That's not what we're doing here. We're not winning X amount of games in a row to finish up the season. You get where I'm going here? You heard some of the games we got to finish up the season. So, Pittsburgh, even if you sneak a team like a Pittsburgh, Seattle, you're not winning all of those games en route to a 6-game winning streak or a 5-game winning streak on the way out. And now you're a hot team heading into the postseason. That's not what's happening here. If we get in, we'll get in because we beat the teams that we were supposed to beat or the teams that were on our level. And maybe we snuck a team or two. But we're not getting hot like those teams in 05, 07, and 12 did. Those teams got piping hot. Joe had those boys playing in 05 and 07. They were playing for Sean in 07. When he died, they got hot, won 5 in a row. In 05, Sean Taylor and that defense was buzzing. And the offense started to come around, and all of a sudden we got hot, caught lightning in a bottle late in that season, won 5 in a row, and got to the playoffs. And in 12, Robert and company, we thought we were done. We go to the bye at 3-6. Shanahan's already writing the season off, saying we're going to start evaluating for next year. Bob Griffin steps up to the mic and says, hey, I'm not done with this year. I think we can run the table. And we do. We win 7 straight, go 10-6, win the division, including a couple of big contests down the stretch versus Philly, Giants, and Dallas in week 17 for the division. That's not happening this year. Now, we may have to win week 17 for the division versus Philly on the road. But, again, that's so far down the line, hard to really even say. Anyhow, let's get out of here. I thank you guys for joining me, man. Really look forward to chopping it up with you tomorrow. We'll be live on the podcast tomorrow. That will happen early in the day. I'm talking, early, like 10 in the morning. Whenever I get up tomorrow morning, get myself together, we're going to jump on that pod nice and early and get it out of the way on Tuesday morning. So look for the pod live early tomorrow. If you're not able to catch it live, no worries. You can catch the playback. And I look forward to chopping it up with you guys. As always, this was a blast. I can't thank you guys enough for staying up late. This was not the best game, most entertaining game, but you know what it was? It's a Rams win, and a very impressive one at that, against a Bears team that came into this game at 5-1 and finding ways to really disrupt offenses, create turnovers, short field for their offense, and win games. And they weren't able to do that tonight. And you got to credit the Rams for playing complimentary football, not turning it over, not falling into the trap of allowing this Bears defense to lull them to sleep, but instead playing good quality three-phase football. Special teams, offense, defense, all was solid tonight. And really, they should have won this game 24-3. They dominated this game. And if not for the fumble that it resulted in a scoop and score, they win this thing 24-3. They had a blocked field goal. That's the one thing they didn't do well on special teams tonight. They should have won this thing going away. They were dominant tonight, were the Rams. They were the better team, and they proved it as they win this game 24-10 over the Bears. moved to 5-2. Bears dropped to 5-2, and all of a sudden the NFC West is really cluttered. 5-1 Seattle, 5-2 Arizona, 5-2 Rams, 4-3 49ers. This division is bananas. And now all of a sudden, the Bears are tied with Green Bay atop the NFC North at 5-1. And that division is getting pretty damn interesting. Or I think the Packers had a bye week already. So they are 4-1, are the Green Bay Packers, if I'm not mistaken. They've only played 5 games. Yes, I think that is the case. Wait, hold on. Time out. Yep. I think the Packers are 5-1, not 4-1. 5-1. They've played 6 games. We're in week 7. So they're a half game behind Green Bay in the division. But that's interesting. And now Detroit is 3-3. You know how I feel about Detroit. But don't dismiss them. They should have beat Chicago in week 1. If not for a DeAndre Swift drop in the end zone with 5 seconds left in that game, they win. So they could be 4-2 right now, but they're 3-3. So in any event, I'm going to glide to the side, allow you guys to enjoy the rest of your night. I thank you guys for joining me. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not, I repeat, not the best NFL coverage. It could be. Until next time, you know what it is. It's your man Louie T. I'm out of here. You guys take care. Have a good one.